So I wanted to know if you could see me and hear me all right. If you could give me a thumbs up in the comments, that would be really great. I'm not sure exactly how long the lag time is here on YouTube today. Sometimes it's quite long. And it takes, up to 45 seconds for me to see that you guys have actually clicked or said or done anything. But so I hope you guys have had a great Thursday, number one. And I'm going to be talking about brand strategy today. And one of the reasons why is because I'm relaunching my signature course, Brand Strategy 101. And enrollment just opened on Tuesday and it runs till Thursday. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as we go on. I'm going to change one thing with my headphone really quickly. There we go. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm having trouble with my USB interface. It's giving me distortion in my headphones. But if I plug my headphones into my mixing board, it works great. So I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, you guys, do me a favor. Just give me a comment. What's your name? Where you're from? Just let me know that the feed is working well, sound is working well. I'd really appreciate that if you do that. It's always good to know. And with that, let me just talk about a few things. Number one, if you guys aren't members of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, I have a free but private Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/groups/Brand Design Masters, you can check out that group. It's full of Chrissy. Thank you so much. Finally, it's full of creative professionals and digital entrepreneurs who are using design and branding to build their businesses, their freelance practices, their agencies. And they're networking with each other. They're sharing resources. They are sharing feedback with each other on their work. They're inspiring each other. It's just a really cool and vibrant group. And so if you're not a member of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, I recommend that you head over there to the URL that you see on the screen right now, facebook.com/groups, Brand Design Masters, and check that out. So definitely do that. And then also, if you haven't already, I have a podcast. It's called Brand Design Masters Podcast, and it's available on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Podcasts and everywhere else that you can get your podcasts. I have a lot of really great guests. Last season, I interviewed Marty Neumeier, the guy who wrote Zag and the Brand Gap, and just an absolutely amazing interview, plus tons and tons of other people, from Chris Do to Chris Ducker. Lots and lots of great interviews. So if you haven't checked out the Brand Design Masters podcast, I encourage you to do that. And one other thing, if you are a creative professional and you're working with Adobe's applications, so Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, etc., if you're still learning those programs, or you are really looking to up your game on those programs, Bring Your Own Laptop is a video training platform on the web run by a guy named Daniel Scott, who you see here in this picture. And Daniel is a certified Adobe trainer. He's one of the best Adobe trainers there is. He's spoken at the Adobe Max conference, which is a very prestigious event, and his courses are fantastic. It's a subscription-based platform to get access to all of his videos, and it's only $12 a month. It's insane, the quality and the content that you get for $12 a month on his website to have access to all of his training. He also keeps it incredibly up to date. He's always redoing his training, so it has the latest updates and tools that are being introduced into these programs. So if you are looking to up your level in Illustrator or Photoshop or InDesign or any of the Adobe Suite products, I would encourage you to head over to byol.me, and if you use the URL /Philip, that's an affiliate link, and if you sign up, I get a little bit of an affiliate fee, but you don't pay anything more, and it's just your way of being able to support me and my work here on YouTube. I would really, really appreciate that. I give a tremendous amount of content away for free and a lot of knowledge away for free, and so if you would use the byol.me /Philip URL to to access Daniel Scott's courses, I'd really appreciate it. That would be really great. And by that token, if you guys are interested at all in supporting my work here on YouTube, you can always hit that little dollar icon in the bottom and send me a $5 or a $10 tip into my tip jar today. Anything is always welcome. Okay, so enough of that chit chat. And do me a favor, you guys who are watching, if you have a second, give me a comment that tells me how many years experience you've had as a creative professional. How long have you been in the industry? Are you still in school? Did you just get out? 5 years, 10 years? Do you work in-house, or do you have your own freelance agency? I'd really like to know that. I'd like to know, kind of frame out where you guys are in your careers. It'll give me some perspective in terms of how I share the content that I'm going to be sharing today. So, yeah, just drop that into the chat. So, let's get going here. All right. First of all, if you have any questions as I go along through this content, type the word question in all caps before your question, and that way I will see it in the chat and I'll be able to recognize it as a question when we get to the end and I start entertaining questions, okay? So I'm going to leave that up on the screen. And so let's talk about getting started with brand strategy. There is a lot of buzz around brand strategy in the world right now. There's a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people are learning it. It's becoming a lot more and more clients, even small to medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs, are starting to become more familiar with branding and the strategy that goes behind branding. And so we, as creative professionals, it is incumbent upon us in order to bring that skill to the table. So if you are a creative professional and you don't know much about it, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this live here today, to share a little bit of the perspective and give you a little bit of grounding in what that is. There's very good reason that there is buzz around brand strategy, and that is because the competitive marketplace is tougher than it's ever been. Everybody, even the smallest companies, can look huge. It's not hard to establish a foothold in the digital world. And so in being a creative pro, we have a whole lot of pricing pressures on us. With the globalization of the creative economy, we have more and more competitors who do what we do, and they do it at very reduced fees. Sometimes there are people who will give you a logo on Fiverr for $5 or in Upwork for $50, and it puts a tremendous amount of downward pricing pressure on our industry, and we are feeling it. Creative professionals are being kind of squeezed between the global creative economy and our need to be able to make a living. In learning brand strategy and increasing your knowledge of that realm of branding is one of those things that you can do that can really help you insulate yourself, some career insurance around this encroachment of the Fivers and the Upworks and the AI and the Canvas in the world. Creative pros need to do two things. Number one, first of all, you have to master your skill, your creative skill. That goes without saying. You've got to be great at what you do. You have to be a great designer or film editor or voiceover expert or audio editor or content producer or illustrator or photographer. Whatever it is that you do creatively, you've got to be great at it. Now, number two, you need to be able to expand on that. It's not enough to just know one thing. If you know just one thing and one thing very well, you can survive in the agency world in-house. You can survive in the in-house client world in a company or corporation, but your growth will be limited. You will hit a ceiling of growth if you just stay in a kind of a T-shaped, meaning deep in one thing, knowledge base. So it's really important for creatives to start to nurture and develop what I call a V-shaped knowledge base, which is you are deep and knowledgeable in one thing, but there are a number of things that you have varying degrees of knowledge in that you're bringing to the table in addition to your one creative skill. Okay? And those things are things like finance, business skills, understanding of marketing, understanding of social media, understanding of content development. All of those things are broader skill sets, and strategy and brand strategy and communications fit into that range, that bucket of broader skill sets that you as a creative pro can develop and nurture and bring into your business and into your personal knowledge base that you can bring to the table with your clients. There is brand strategy. There's also business strategy. There's also marketing strategy. And some people get really confused between those three. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what is the difference between those three. The word strategy actually stems from a Greek word, and the Greek word is stratus. And actually that in Greek that means army. And so the word strategy, if you look it up in the dictionary, is usually equated with nation building and military power and political power and that sort of planning and execution. The second part of that word in Greek is ago, which means leading or moving. So it's kind of like the movement, the leading, the point of the army, right? That's what strategy is. In business, strategy is really, it's an action that managers will take to attain one or more of an organization's goals. So it is a series of actions or a plan of attack that managers and leaders of an organization will take in order to win, right? It's a general direction set by a company and the company's various components to achieve a certain state in the future, where they want to go. It's basically a plan of how to win. Okay, so in business strategy is that kind of go to war kind of planning. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple little definitions that will hopefully help a little bit. Most of us know what brands are, but I have to kind of do this in sequence to kind of build on this. But a brand is a name, a term, a design, a symbol, or any other feature. And when I say any other feature, that could be a product, a service, an experience, an activity, okay, that defines one seller's goods or services from another, right? It's how we tell companies apart. Their products, their services, what they look like, what they feel like, what the experience is. Okay, that is what a brand is. Jeff Bezos says a brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. But that is kind of the bucket of what a brand is. Now, and the American Marketing Association, they're responsible for that quote. Marketing strategy, this quote is by me, hence the little happy face in the bottom. Marketing strategy really outlines specific activities of how and where a brand's going to promote its products and services in the marketplace. So I'm trying to differentiate between marketing strategy and brand strategy now, okay? Marketing strategy is the activities that you take, how you take them, what you do to promote your products in the market, right? How you go to market. Now, on the other hand, brand strategy, see, I skipped a slide by accident. Hold on a second, let me back up. Now, brand strategy, on the other hand, this is the process that you use to codify, or instead of the word codify, define. This is the process used to define the functional, the emotional, and the operational tenets of a brand. What the company uses to guide all of its activities. Okay, so this is the plan, this is the structure, this is the definition of the brand, and how it sits, what its plans are, what it wants to do for its customers in a functional way, how it wants to move them in an emotional way. All of the operational activities that guide everything a company does. It's a much more esoteric and philosophical sort of strategy. It's not marketing tactics, Brand strategy is not tactics, okay? It defines how and what you plan to do and who you're targeting, where you're going to position yourself in the marketplace, things of that nature, okay? Are you guys tracking with me? All right, good. Now I have to skip ahead because I lost one of those slides. Now the question really is, like, why learn it, right? Why learn it at all? What branding does is branding enables the consumer to recognize a brand in the marketplace when they come in contact with it. And then it also creates in them this sort of psychological space, this repository in a consumer's mind where they can place all of the functional benefits and the emotional benefits that they get from interacting with a company's products or services or the brand itself. Branding also creates clarity in the consumer's mind, making it easier for them to communicate why they like a brand, what it means to them, and how they communicate that to other consumers. So establishing a brand and a plan, a strategy for the brand itself, establishing the brand, establishing a strategy for the brand, is what creates these sorts of what we call equities in the consumer. So now to why learn it at all? Okay, I'm going to use an analogy here. And the analogy is a spear. And I have some pictures to go along with it. Let's look at the spear. If you think of there's a spear, which is the shaft of the spear, the long shaft of the spear, and then the arrowhead, the point, the tip of the spear. Where we usually live as creative people is down here. It's taking too long to switch the slide. Is down here in the shaft of the spear, where creative is done, where execution is done. That's where creative professionals operate most of the time. It is way far down the spear from where strategic decision making and the analysis of the market and action planning, where you're planning market, how you're going to go to market, where all those ideas and plans and strategies are created. Everything that a company does happens, the plans for it happen at the tip of the spear, at the point. And everything that they execute cascades back down from that to the end, to execution. And creatives sit very close to the execution side of the spear. But the idea is, with brand strategy takes place much closer to the tip of the spear. Brand strategy lives in the strategic decision-making total tip of the spear, right? And then the analysis of the market and the action planning for marketing strategy happens cascading down from that. Most of the decisions about what the company is going to develop as a product or service, who they're going to target, how much they're going to charge for it, the brand strategy, the business strategy, and the marketing strategy all stem way up at the top of the tip of the spear. This is where the C-suite hangs out. These are where the largest decisions are made. Once those decisions are made, then they decide how much creative work they need, how much marketing work they need, what kind of activities, what kind of execution they have to then get involved in, okay? And usually we as creatives are down there, right? Down there with execution and creative. But where we want to move, what will behoove us as creative people is to move to the tip of the spear. The people who are working and operating and having conversations at the tip of the spear are the ones who influence everything down the shaft of the spear. Those decisions that are made up there affect how much creative work is done, what the creative projects are, how much execution work is done, what kind of marketing is done, all of that sort of stuff. So the goal in learning brand strategy is to move up, move the tip of the spear right there. And so you can be in the room, you can be part of the conversations that are happening around that sort of strategic planning. Why? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to be in those strategic planning meetings? Why would you want to be in those strategic brainstorming meetings? The reason is, if you are in them, you can effectively affect all of the work down the spear. Meaning, if you are taking place in the strategy portion of the planning, you can affect how many creative projects are done, where those creative projects are going to take place, what kind of work that is, how much of it there is. You can get involved in and actually affect the amount of work that is eventually, hopefully, as the creative, going to come your way. Okay? So, by learning brand strategy, this is where these things come together. This is where the analogy of the spear and the idea of learning brand strategy comes together. By being a creative professional and learning about brand strategy, you become a more valuable business partner. You start to be seen by your clients in a different light. You start to be seen as more of a strategic thinker, more of a holistic thinker, more of someone who thinks beyond just fonts and imagery and layout and design deliverables. You are thinking more about the business, about how the business will succeed, what needs to be done to help the business succeed. In starting to learn how to use that vocabulary, use those tools, have those conversations, you become a more highly valued business partner. And the client's perception of you heightens. You become more valuable. You start to earn your seat at that strategic table. And because I said that's where all those decisions are made about what happens down the spear, you then, as a part of that conversation, have influence over the size of the projects that come later. So if you are the one doing the projects that come later, you then have equal or at least part influence over what you decide to get done and what gets done. The other thing is that if you learn how to run brainstorming sessions, you learn how to use strategic tools, how to work with clients to actually populate and fill out these strategic tools that are used in business, you can get paid for thinking. You can get paid for your knowledge of business, thinking and asking questions, and writing and filling out strategic tools and acting as more of a partner. And a lot of us, especially people who've had a lot of experience, 5, 10, 15 years of experience, who are just still operating in the creative realm, we give a lot of thinking away for free. We give a lot of our experience in design and marketing away for free when we have consultations with clients. And I think that is a shame, because you should be getting paid for the thinking that you're giving away. The more you elevate and productize your thinking, and brand strategy is essentially productizing thinking. The more you productize your thinking, you can charge for it. And the last bullet here, which is a really important one, and I want you to really pay attention to this one, which is, because you are elevated in your client's perception as a business partner, and that you're more valuable, and that you're being able to increase the size of projects that you are going to be getting down the tip of the spear, and you're going to be getting paid for thinking, you can charge higher fees for the design work that you're already doing. So I've taken a number of people through, dozens of people through my brand strategy course, and when they get out the other end, they know how to run a brand strategy workshop with a client. They know how to populate brand strategy tools. They charge for those things. They charge for that thinking. They charge for asking questions. They charge for copywriting and filling out brand strategy tools. But then when it comes time to actually doing the creative work that they would be doing anyway when they get the project, they're charging more for it, sometimes 2 or 3 times more for it than they did before, because the value perception of you as a business partner has gone up. Your brand equity, your brand value as a creative partner and a business partner with your clients has gone up, which enables you to charge more for what you do. Okay? Now, you are also going to create, and I spoke to this just a little bit at the very beginning when I started. You're going to create career longevity insurance for yourself. Because like I said, every creative who has a T-shaped skill set where they're just a great creative person and they don't have subsidiary skill sets, they will eventually hit a glass ceiling where they can't get promoted beyond senior designer. They can't move to art director or creative director or executive creative director. They hit a ceiling because they haven't developed the business vocabulary. They haven't developed a strategic vocabulary. If you learn these things, you will actually be opening doors in your career as you move forward in your career to having the opportunity to be promoted, having the opportunity to move into management, to make more money, right? And because of the encroachment of the globally creative economy and the downward pricing pressure that we are seeing on design and the design industry, the one thing that you can't commoditize is thinking. The one thing you cannot commoditize. The Fivers of the world, the Upworks of the world are not going to nibble like piranhas at the edges of your business because they don't offer thinking. They offer design cheap. And if all you're offering is design, then you are at the mercy of the discount design entities of the world. But the more you learn how to speak the language of business, speak the language of strategy, and offer a level of thinking and partnership that goes beyond your T-shaped creative skill set and moves more towards a V-shaped arrangement of multiple skill sets, you are creating career insurance for yourself. You will be more valuable to the company that you work for or the agency that you work for. You will be more promotable. Your clients will value you more highly. You combat the pressures of Fiverr and 99 Designs and AI design. You will, in doing this, become a better communicator too. You'll also become a better writer because doing strategy and this sort of intellectual work requires writing. Your storytelling skills will get better. And in doing this, because you are now grounding all of your design work in strategy, your designs will get better. When I say better, I don't mean aesthetically better. Your designs may be fantastic aesthetically already. What I mean by better is your designs are going to become more strategic. You're going to be able to talk about your design work more strategically. You're going to be able to present it that way. You're going to be able to fight for it that way. You're going to be able to frame your design work in strategic terms that make it impossible for your client to say no. Because you're moving it out of subjective, this is my opinion of purple, or I don't like this font, sort of criticism, and you're moving it into an objective presentation of a design that's going to solve a problem. And by learning brand strategy and learning design strategy, how branding, brand strategy, and design intersect with each other, by learning that process, you learn how to do better and more effective design work. Okay? There's a whole cascading effect of learning strategy that will have on your business and your career. What are some examples of strategic vocabulary? I will get there. Well, things like brand positioning, mission statements, brand pyramids, brand positioning statements, competitive audits, the sort of things that you talk about when you're talking about the positioning and the competitive advantages that businesses have over each other. Talking about brand pyramids, need states, functional benefits, emotional benefits. I could go on and on and on. Anyway, there are certain terminologies that you don't generally use when you're speaking about creative work that speak back to business strategy. Okay. Now, this strategic brand design little 5-circle chart here is kind of breaking out what the process of strategy is. So you usually start with discovery, where you, at the beginning, this on the left, you explore, you educate, you ask a lot of questions of your client, and you educate them what brand strategy is, and you demonstrate visually what the return on investment of doing strategy is. Okay? The next one is question and codify. This is where you actually do the strategy. You question the client, you may do consumer research, you may do internal stakeholder research, you'll research the category, you'll do competitive audits, a brand audit of your client's business, a competitive audit of the competitive landscape, all of the strategy, codifying, defining what the brand strategy is. And then it moves into the visualization, and this is where we become more comfortable, where you take strategy and then you start to ideate and create visual manifestations of the strategy. So this is design strategy. This isn't design yet. These aren't the designs. These are things like mood boards. They're things like brand personalities. They're creative anchors. Those sorts of stylescapes, some people call them. Design strategy visualizations. And then that then moves into creation, which is design. Out of design, you move into execution and marketing and taking design actually to market. So there's the discovery phase at the beginning and question and codifying, which is brand strategy. And then you move into design strategy and design. Now, we as designers, for the most part, are used to operating here. We're used to operating in the design strategy, possibly in the design category. Many of us, when we get a creative brief, might have to parse that brief in our heads to decide what of this information that we're getting in a creative brief really has bearing over what we're going to do in creative. And many creatives don't do that initial design strategy phase where you're doing creative mood boards or brand personality scapes or style scapes that are going to lead to design down the road. Some people just jump right into design ideation. But those two areas are where designers currently sit and operate for the most part, right? But what we want to do, and this is kind of the same thing, we're moving to the left, we're moving up the spear. When moving into the discovery and educating the client and doing brand strategy, you are moving up the process. So you have more influence in what happens downstream. Okay? Now, brand strategy is made up of two main components. One is conversations, and one is tools. In brand strategy, you ask a lot of questions. These are just, I know you can't see them, it's just a blur. But these documents on the right-hand side are just a few of the questionnaires and conversation guides that I offer in my Brand Strategy 101 course. And you get all of these, and they're downloadable. I teach you how to use them all, and you can download them. You get to keep them. But brand strategy is about asking questions. It's about acting like a detective. When you are a creative who is learning and starting to do brand strategy, you wear more hats than you usually do. You used to wear just the design hat, right? But when you're doing strategy, you become a bit of a detective. You are asking a lot of questions. You're capturing the answers to those questions. You are using an analytical part of your mind that you maybe not have been using yet. It's a muscle that you haven't really grown yet. But it's a muscle that will serve you and will become very important in your career as you advance in your career and get stronger and more accomplished. That analytical piece, that analytical muscle in your mind will get stronger and stronger and stronger. You have your creative core skill, but you're going to start to develop an analytical skill set. You're going to start to develop a strategic thinking skill set. You're going to become more comfortable with being a detective and rooting around and asking questions through an organization and capturing the answers that you get. and codifying, defining in writing, in tools, what you find out. So the conversations are what you ask, like what are the questions that you ask? When do you ask those questions in the process? And then what do you do with that information? What happens with that information? And so the other part of that is tools. What you see on the right-hand side of the slide is just a smattering of the range of visual tools, visual brand strategy tools that I teach and that I utilize in Brand Strategy 101. These are core strategic tools that I have used through 25 years of my career as a senior branding executive. I've worked for 8 years at global branding companies with companies like P&G and Coca-Cola and Johnson & Johnson and PepsiCo and Disney and Warner Brothers and Paramount. The list goes on and on. And I have used these exact same tools in strategy projects with these companies. But now I've developed Brand Strategy 101, my signature introductory course about brand strategy. And I have taken those tools and I have kind of boiled them down to a set of tools and a set of processes that are executable by creative professionals. And you can use them with your entrepreneurial clients, solopreneurs, small to medium-sized businesses. If you're working with the Fortune 500, that's great. But chances are they already have people in their organizations, or they have an agency of record that is already doing this work for them. But what I'm trying to do is bring these tools, these processes to the masses of creative pros so we can start to operate at a higher level than we've been operating at and make more money, become a valuable business partner, and up-level and create career insurance for ourselves. So this is just a smattering of the tools that I teach in Brand Strategy 101. And the tools are where you capture that information. So you have the conversations, you ask all the questions, you gather all the information, and then you use that information sometimes in partnership in a workshop with your client. Sometimes you do it on your own and present it back to the client. But it's where you capture and where you codify or define or write in stone what the strategy of the brand is. Okay, you guys tracking with me? That's where you do it, in those tools. And so you can start your journey in learning more about brand strategy by starting to nurture certain aspects of your knowledge. You can start to work on your knowledge of business mechanics, how businesses work, how the financial aspect of businesses work, how do they go to market, how do they market, the product and service execution side of business, and how all those things interact, right? How they all link together. You can also start by improving your copywriting skills, taking a copywriting course, or starting to write more. And also your storytelling skills, how you use examples, how you use case studies when you talk about them, how you use that. You can also start by exploring and developing and working on your interpersonal skills, your communication skills, how you present yourself in a meeting or in a group of people or just one-on-one with the client, your level of confidence, your level of speaking, working on your interpersonal skills. And your communication, your vocabulary, how well you express yourself. And you can also work on learning how branding, and you're doing that by looking at this live and listening to me in this presentation right here, right now, you're doing it. You're learning how strategy and branding intersect, and you're learning how brand strategy intersects with design strategy, and then design, and then execution and marketing. You're learning how all of those things sequentially fit together and what the meaning of them is and what part they play in a business. These are just some of the things that you can start to explore with yourself in order to warm yourself up to learning about this stuff. But one of the best ways to do it is my Brand Strategy 101 course. Enrollment in this course is open right now. Enrollment, it's the second time I've given it. I gave it at the beginning of the year in January and February of 2021, and it was a smashing success. It was a minimum, I can't say it was a minimum viable product. It was a maximum product. And the response was incredible. The people who took it had incredible shifts in their knowledge and in their business. And enrollment's open right now. If you go to philipvandusen.com/enroll, you'll be taken to a sales page for Brand Strategy 101. And it will tell you all about the course. There's 7 modules in the course that are taught live on Zoom over an 8-week period of time. I do a live Zoom on Tuesdays, and I teach the class. And then I do a live Q&A in Facebook on Friday, where I take questions about everything that you learned that week. And I'm doing that to make sure that you completely understand and can internalize what I'm teaching in this course, and that you know how to put it into work in your business. And so I also teach it live. And there's, this is deep stuff. It's a significant jump from just being a creative to moving up the spear a little bit. But I do it in a way, I've been training creatives for 20 years. I do it in a way that you can get it. I've boiled it down to a process, very pragmatic, a very step-by-step sort of development, where you will learn about strategy, the conversations, the tools, how to put them into work, how they link into strategic design, how strategic design links into design. I go through all of this in Brand Strategy 101, and you can see it on this page when I list out what the modules are and what's included in those modules. And it's a fantastic experience, and it has transformed some creatives' businesses. And so the course costs 2 payments of $297 or 1 payment of $497. I understand this is an investment, but the value of this course, the tools alone, are probably worth more than $1,500 in the downloads of the discussion guides that you're going to get, and the tools themselves, and the case studies that support them. That alone is worth its weight in gold, but you're going to get 8 weeks of at least an hour to an hour and a half of direct instruction from me, very pragmatically, very step by step, about how to go about learning this stuff and how to use it in your business. And it will pay for itself within the absolute first session that you use it. I guarantee you. I have a number of testimonials that are actually on that sales page of people, brass tacks, what it did for their business financially. I had one guy who was in Ireland, and he was selling a project. It was a project for $8,000 with a client, and he was able to upsell that client to 3 times that amount, to $24,000 in one meeting, as he presented the concepts behind Brand Strategy 101. I had another person in the Philippines, developing nation, a nation that has a lower price point acceptance rate than the United States. But this agency person is now charging 3 times what they used to charge for their creative, and they have been able to upsell their clients $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on projects. Knowledge, stuff that they used to give away for free. The knowledge they gave away for free. They didn't execute these tools. They didn't know how to execute these tools. They didn't know how to have the conversations they needed to have. They didn't know how to explain the return on investment of brand strategy to their clients. But once they did, they were able to really, really, really move the needle in their business. So I encourage you, if what I shared with you today kind of sparks your interest a little bit, $497 is an incredibly, it's an aggressive price for me. I have a peer mastermind that I'm in, and I've been encouraged to triple that price, but I want to make it as accessible to people as possible for the value that it brings. This is life-changing stuff. And for the value that it brings, this is a very, very good investment for you. And so I encourage you to go to philipvandusen.com/enroll, check out Brand Strategy 101, what I'm offering, what the course is going to be like. And the open enrollment period ends next Thursday on the 9th. So you don't have much time. And when it's closed, it's closed. Chances are this is the last time I'm going to be delivering this course live. I am probably going to move to a video format where you're not going to be able to have direct one-on-one contact with me, ask me questions right after I teach the lesson, have Q&As on Facebook. It's going to be a diminished experience. It's still going to be an incredible course, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to get the direct mentorship that you're going to get with me through the personalized teaching of this course. Why? Why am I eventually going to move away from doing it live and move to video? It's because I got other courses that I want to teach. I have another course in the hopper that I'm developing right now that I'm going to probably be delivering live, and I'm not going to be able to deliver all these things live on top of each other. So I'm moving on, but I wanted to teach Brand Strategy 101 at least the first couple times live, so I could really, really make sure that the people who are learning this stuff, you guys, are getting the value of it and really being able to put it into use in your businesses. So go to philipvandusen.com/enroll and check out and read all about Brand Strategy 101. Also, there's this huge Q&A section at the bottom. I took just about every question that I could think of and that I've been asked about this course, and I answered them in length at the bottom in the Q&A frequently asked questions section. So if you have any questions after we get out of here, or after if you're watching this live at a later date, then definitely go and check out that frequently asked questions section. Now, people watch these lives, months and months later. And if you are listening to this way past September 9th and the course is closed, you can still go to philipvandusen.com/enroll and you probably get on the waiting list for the next time that the course is open and that it's in the sales cycle. So that's how it will work. If you're listening to this much later in time, go to philipvandusen.com/enroll. You'll be able to read about the course and possibly get on the waiting list for it. But right now, it's open. The doors are open. And so anybody who's watching, if you have any questions, I see there's a couple questions that have been asked, but if you have any questions specifically about brand strategy or this course that I'm offering, Brand Strategy 101, I would gladly entertain those. I'll answer the questions that I have here in chat. I'm doing this, I decided to go live a lot later in time in the day that I usually do. And one of the reasons is because I've kind of been experimenting. I've been experimenting with when's the best time for people to be able to watch a live. And because I have, followers and audience and subscribers around the globe, I've been doing it later. I've been doing it earlier. I've just kind of been testing it out. So Thor says, Thor. All right, I'm going to do this. Thor, good day, sir. I just joined. Do you have a quick recap of what I just missed? Thor, I'm going to have to say go back and watch the video. The quick recap is that if you are a creative professional and you are feeling stuck or are wondering what you need to learn in order to get promoted, make more money, move to the next level, charge more for what you do, charge and get paid for the thinking that you've been giving away, and also combat the downward pricing pressure that global creative economy is having on creative professionals, brand strategy is what's going to get you there. That's the recap. I articulated that pretty well, I think. Yeah. Okay. Thor, you're great. You have a bunch of questions, and that's cool. Do you believe that having a certification as a project management professional, so project manager, would be a way for me to get my foot into the doors of those strategy meetings? Project management is execution. Project management is generally not strategic planning. Projects have already been defined and they've already been put on the execution plate. That's when project managers come into the picture. Project managers usually are on projects that have multiple stakeholders or multiple activities that are going on. Everything from, it could be creative, it could be software development, UX, UI, it could be, physical product development, packaging, shipping, retail, consumer insights, consumer testing. Projects can be very, very complex and take long periods of time. And if there's a lot of different stakeholders, divisional elements, external vendors, etc., that's where project managers come into play. They have to herd the cats. Project managers are cat herders. But that activity is a managerial activity. Yes, it takes negotiation skills. It takes great organizational skills. It takes really good negotiation and interpersonal communication skills. You may have to think about strategy in terms of how you're executing the calendar, or how you're helping all of the pieces interact with each other when they need to at exactly the right time, and their deliverables are being delivered in a timely fashion. And you may strategize about how to put that together. But where you're not included is in these C-suite tip of the spear meetings, because the project has already been defined and the strategy has already been set, and you are in execution land at the very end of the spear where it's time to put it into action. So very long answer to your question is no. It's not. If you want to move into that realm, the strategic realm, being a project manager is not the best way. The one thing about it, though, no activity or no breadth of knowledge is wasted. Meaning, learning about project execution and the interworkings of multiple divisional areas in making something happen for a company is very, very valuable information, and it's a very valuable activity. I am a strong believer that no great, strong career is linear. It's not like a ladder. Great careers are not ladders. They're webs. Great careers are not linear. They have side jogs, and every one of those side jogs, expected or not, planned or not, makes the whole stronger. The more linear your career path is, that T-shaped skill set, in a way, the more fragile it is. So if you're a creative and you're learning about project management, that's broadening your skill set. That's a jog that's going to teach you something. It's going to take you somewhere. You're going to learn something new that you can apply to something else in your career. So if that was a strategic choice on your part, good on you. Okay. And then you asked about strategic vocabulary, and I actually used a bit of strategic vocabulary in this presentation. But a lot of business terminology, marketing terminology, non-creative terminology about customer avatars, need states, functional benefits, emotional benefits, kind of core brand ideas, brand personalities, competitive audits, destination mapping, opportunity mapping, SWOT analysis. That's some of the terminology that you use in strategy. Business model canvases, brand pyramids, things of that nature. Hope that helps. Okay, you guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm coming up on an hour, and I like to usually hit that right on the button. Seems to work for me. I hope this was good. Did you guys have a good time? Get something out of this? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you got a bit of value out of this presentation about brand strategy. I do hope you got a bit of a picture about what my offering is in Brand Strategy 101. And if you are curious about more, you can always hit me up with a direct message on Facebook, or you can hit me up with a message through my website, philipvandusen.com, in the contact form, or go to philipvandusen.com/enroll and read all about Brand Strategy 101. I guarantee you, if you're a creative professional with anywhere from 5 5 years of experience. This will accelerate your career and give you a sheath of armor that's going to really protect you from the pressures of the current creative economy. And it's going to give you a window into where you can move, where you can be promoted, where you can have a deeper impact on your clients' businesses and get paid for your thinking. So that's it. I really appreciate your guys' time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And so Thor, thanks for all your questions. That was totally awesome. Chrissy, thanks for being with me. And so you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay safe. Have a great Friday, a great weekend. And I'll see you here on YouTube at some point next week. Okay? Take care.